Why is he able to do this though? Well, you see the headline here. He invests $1.5 million a year in his body. Okay, that's an investment that he's making in himself. Hey guys, if you like the content today, I want you to go and click the subscribe button to make sure that you get all of the future content that we're putting out on a weekly basis on all things investment banking recruiting related. Okay. Now today I want to talk about one of the biggest things that prevents people from being successful, and it's called ego. Okay, and I see this a lot where sometimes I don't know at what point we kind of became conditioned as a society to act all macho and basically become too proud to get help, right? Because I hear a lot of students all the time when they say, "Oh, I would never pay for help to get into investment banking," or if I can't get into investment banking on my own, then I don't deserve to be in investment banking, or I don't deserve to become an investment banker, right? Now, that's pretty crazy mindset to me, because if you look at some of the most successful people in the world, the most successful people in their respective fields, okay, I'm talking about the people at the pinnacle of their professions. The way that the most successful people think is they're always looking for any competitive advantage they can get, no matter what it may be, right? Like they just want to win, right? So for example, we look at LeBron James. He is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, right? And some people say Michael Jordan, some people say LeBron James. There's good arguments for either, but he's one of the greatest players of all time that we've ever seen, right? And the reason why he's one of the greatest players of all time is actually not just because of how good he is, but it's because, I mean, as of the time of this article, I'll say he was 33. Now he's 35. He just won a championship with the LA Lakers, right? He's coming out of his 17th season in the NBA. He's still one of the best players in the entire league. Now, so one of the most impressive things about LeBron is not just his skill set, but it's actually just how much longevity he's had, how long he's been at the top of the game, how many years he's gone to the finals, right? I think, aside from last year, he's basically gone to whatever, 9, 10, 11 finals. I've lost count at this point, right? And why is he able to do this though? Well, you see the headline here. He invests $1.5 million a year in his body. Okay, that's an investment that he's making in himself, right? And this figure is actually sourced from Maverick Carter, who's one of his closest friends, right, and his business partner. Okay, so he spends $1.5 million on things like trainers and chefs and workouts. Like he builds his own home gyms. He does cryo chambers. He does hyperbaric chambers. He does massages and compression sleeves and shorts and boots and what else? Ice baths, massage therapists, personal chef. Again, like, so he's doing all these things. This is a lot more than what the typical NBA player will even do, right? I mean, $1.5 million. I mean, of course, LeBron can afford it, but most NBA players won't spend this much money on their own body. But the thing is, like, you might balk at that and say, "Oh, like he has spent so much money." But think about how much money that has made him in the long run, right? Like his teammates said, "Hey, a lot of people think it's a big expense, but that big expense has allowed him to make a lot more money for a long period of time." Like, if LeBron hasn't been this good for this long, he would not be one of the richest athletes in the world right now, right? So that's why this is an investment in himself, and he's getting a massive ROI on this, right? So the same thing is true when it comes to like something like investment banking recruiting, right? Like, obviously, you might think I'm biased for saying this because we offer a service that helps students get into investment banking, but anytime I hear students say like, "Well, I just won't pay for help," it's like, but why not? What if that help is literally going to be the difference between you getting this job that's going to pay you 6 figures right out of school or not, right? Like, you're saying you won't pay a little bit of money up front to get the result that you want, but you're willing to pay for not getting in the long run. Like, if you don't get the job that you want, you're going to be paying either way, right? Like, if you graduate into a job that's only making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, I mean, the average college grad in the United States makes $50,000 a year right out of school. So if you're graduating with a job that makes $50,000 a year, as opposed to making, $130,000 to $150,000 as a first-year analyst in banking, are you paying or not? You're still paying. You're paying just by making a lot less in terms of your annual income, right? And not just your first year, not just your second year, but more importantly, this affects your entire career trajectory for the rest of your career, right? I was talking to one of my other coaches just a week ago that works for me, and he worked in banking. He was an analyst and he was an associate, and then now he's working in private equity, and he just graduated from Wharton Business School. And he was telling me, he's like, it's crazy how much your starting point for your career, how much your first job really affects the rest of your career. And he was like, these are things that most college students just aren't thinking about because they just don't know. They just don't know to think that far. They haven't been through it yet. But now, like for those of us that are older, like both he and I are older, right? Like we come out the other side and we've been working for a while. And as we're looking back, we realize just like how important getting your career off on the right foot really is, right? And so this whole mentality of like, hey, if I pay for something, then if I have to pay for something or to help me get into investment banking, then I don't deserve to be an investment banker. It's like, does anyone look at LeBron James and say, oh, well, LeBron is only this good because he spent $1.5 million a year on his body, therefore he doesn't deserve to be called one of the greatest players in the game, or he doesn't deserve to have all the championships that he's won? No, nobody says that. Everybody just looks at LeBron in amazement, in awe of what he's been able to do. At the end of the day, that's all people are going to remember, is what you were able to accomplish. They're not going to remember, like, for the most part, how you really got there, right? And also, more importantly, regardless of what other people think, right? What's more important is for you, like the satisfaction and the fulfillment that you're actually going to get out of your career. A large part of that comes from how successful you end up in your career, right? Like how big of an impact were you able to have in your career? How much were you able to learn in your career, right? And of course, like things like that are more monetary and like, how much money you make over the span of your career. Those are the things that are going to determine your level of satisfaction, your level of fulfillment, right? And those are the things that are going to determine what kind of lifestyle you're going to be able to afford for yourself and also the people that you love and care about, like your family and your kids and your wife and your husband and whoever, right? Even your parents. And so those are the things that really matter. It's not like, oh, well, I'm too proud to get help, or that's your ego talking, right? Or like you said, well, if I can't get it on my own, then it doesn't matter. Like that's a very selfish thing to do because you could have done so much better, right? Not just for yourself, but for the people around you. And you chose not to because, you're too cool. You were too cool to get help. Right? It doesn't make any sense. And so anyway, this is a bit different from kind of like the topics that we typically talk about, which are, more tactical things, like talking about how to interview and how to network with bankers and things like that. But this is not the sexy stuff, but your mindset and your decision-making process, how you think about the investments that you make or don't make. Those things are just as important, if not more important, because if you have the wrong mindset or if you don't model your thinking after the most successful people in the world, then you're probably not going to get the type of results that the most successful people in the world get, right? Because your inputs determine your outputs, okay? So I just want to kind of like help you guys reframe that a little bit and, give you a different point of view for how you kind of think about that kind of stuff. Investing in yourself is always a good thing. It's one of the best things you can do is to invest in yourself, invest in your education. Like that's why you go to college, right? Because that's an investment in yourself, right? So, nobody says, hey, I'm not going to go to college because if I have to pay for an education, then I don't deserve to be here, right? So just want to squash that silly thought once and for all. Hopefully you guys found this to be helpful, and that'll be it. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more customized advice that's tailored for your specific situation, then I invite you to book a free strategy session with our team at the link below. We'll talk to you soon.